Oddity fine! I got some economic hawks, a gin and tonic on the rocks, where angels fear to tread. I say, choose your booze, let's hit the red eye! Think of young Diana Durbin and how she sung on rum and bourbon. Or enhance your luncheon hour with a planter's punch and a whiskey sour. If you feel like a wreck, try a horse's neck or a sherry with a cherry in the new finer size. If you don't name your poison, I'll have to get the boys in. The spirit of adventure opens one's eyes.
So, Mental Gen, welcome back to Chapter 3 of Beating the Heat.
By Andrew Joshua Talon. And we are just going to get straight into it this time. No bullshit.
Yep, no beating around the bush. None of that nonsense. Anyway,
Let's go.
let it begin. Applejack strutted purposely down the road towards Twilight's home, a clothespin tightly pinched around his snout. His stride was hurried, but not panicked. Just because Pinkie Pie was in heat at the same time Applejack was did not imply a connection, despite the fact her natural skepticism was battling with her experience-informed intuition.
That all doesn't have to be a disaster every other week in Ponyville.
Applejack mused, quite reasonably, she thought.
It does not follow that every pony in Ponyville has gone into a crazy heat at the same time. I have no proof of the first premise, therefore it does not follow that the conclusion is true. When did Applejack have a thought process like this?
Just because she's a hick doesn't mean she's intelligent.
No, I'm not saying that, but you know what? Forget it.
Consider Wizard Wait. Never mind, that's a bad example. Satisfied with her logic, she continued on. She smiled, feeling her mood lighten.
In fact, small likely that Pinkie Pie and I'll just synchronize. And if I won't relate to him, I suspect that I might be more than a little spit on Braeburn.
Ew.
Yeah, I've got my nostril pinch and I got my self-control. Perfect self-control. Perfect self-control. Perfect. Actually, you know, considering of all the main six, Applejack has the most self-control.
Yep.
In fact, if Twilight wasn't in my #1 spot for my favorites of the main six, I'd put Applejack there because she's the only one who keeps a clear head the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, hey Applejack! Caramel.
Applejack greeted the stallion as they passed each other. Applejack increased her speed, feeling more confident, on a single reaction to Caramel passing by. She heard hooves hitting the dirt road hard behind her. She looked over her shoulders. Caramel had come around and was gaining on her.
What in tarnation, Caramel?
Applejack broke
I did that inflection on. What in tarnation, Caramel?
Applejack broke into a gallop, riding hard enough to kick up a dust cloud behind her. Caramel continued to gain, his tongue hanging out of his mouth.
Hang on, Applejack! You smell great!
Caramel cried.
It's the apples! It's always smell like apples!
Applejack shouted back. Caramel came up alongside her and sniffed her deeply. Yeah, a longing, hungry smile came on his face, and he nipped her mane with his teeth.
You know, if I was a woman and some crazy guy did this to me, this would warrant a punch to the face. Applejack? Ah!
Applejack cried, and she hit the brakes. Caramel took a few moments to stop himself, and he came around. Applejack backed up, her eyes narrowing.
No, Caramel. Take it easy. I don't want to knock your block off by Celestia's shining mane. I don't want to knock your block off, but by Celestia's shining mane, I will end you if you don't stop. It's alright. I'm fine with it being rough.
Caramel said with a cheerful smile.
It's just my hate, nothing else.
Applejack said.
You're reacting to it. So, there's something wrong with me being attracted to you?
Caramel asked.
Of course not. Right now, I think something's wrong.
Caramel pounced and Applejack had to roll to get out of the way. Back up on her hooves. She jumped up over Caramel and landed on a nearby cattle fence. Caramel grinned at her and jumped onto the fence with her.
Caramel, you listen to me. You don't want none of this. You'll really regret it. Come on, AJ. Do you have any idea how hard up I've been?
But ching. Caramel complained.
It's bad enough my cousin pretends to be me and makes the fillies think I'm into stallions or a mare myself.
He jumped for Applejack's post, and Applejack jumped off back into the road. She glared up at him.
Well, I'm very sorry to hear that, but there ain't nothing I can do right now. We ain't in our right minds. Come on, let's make some candied apples.
Caramel groaned. Applejack
Grinned.
Caramel grinned. Applejack sighed, spun around, and bucked the heck out of the fence post, sending Caramel slamming into a tree right behind the fence.
And in all fairness, he totally deserved it.
He slid down the fence post. He slid down to the ground in a dazed. Caramel groaned. Applejack took several deep breaths and centered herself before she pulled out the clothespin out of her saddlebag and fitted into Caramel's nostrils.
Sorry about that, Caramel, but when you get onto puns, you're too. Ooh. Sorry, I thought that said something else. But when you get into puns, you're too far gone for words.
Applejack consoled.
Ow! Come on!
Applejack said, hefting Caramel up onto her back with a grunt.
I'll get you to the nurse, and then we'll clear this out.
She set out for Nurse Redheart's clinic in a hard gallop, cursing her own stupidity. She'd given so much thought to her own reaction, she hadn't paid any mind to the possibility of male reactions. But who could have known Caramel would react that strongly? She couldn't help her blush at his warmth, weight, and certain aspects of his scent, but shook her head free of the distractions of lust.
I'll better get this resolved quick.
Applejack said aloud.
Well, I'll be able to sort this out.
After all, what were the odds she had been hit by heat too?
Yeah!
Meanwhile,
Obligatory scene change.
Halfway across the ranch,
At Fluttershy's cottage.
on the ranch,
Oh my, oh dear, oh my, oh dear, oh god, oh man, oh god, oh man.
and
oh
Jill
god, oh
Bunny,
man.
wearing a tiny apron and a chef's hat, peered from Fluttershy's kitchen and towards his owner and friend, who was fluttering back and forth around her living room anxiously. The White Rabbit folded one ear and raised the other high, as his eyebrows cocked in a similar fashion. What had gotten into his gentle, if flighty friend? Setting her hooves down, Fluttershy trod in place, occasionally turning in half circles and her tail raised high and her wings fluttering restlessly.
Oh my, oh dear, oh god, oh man.
At first,
oh god.
dismissing it as Fluttershy being Fluttershy, Angel turned to go back to cook his hay casserole when he performed a double take and stared at what had raised the red flag in his rabbit mind. Her tail was raised. And he sniffed the air, wrinkled in disgust as he got a nose full of bony pheromones and quickly covered his nose with a paw. Taking off his hat, he threw it at Fluttershy's head, catching her attention.
Ah! What is it, Angel?
She asked, and she looked at him. Angel glared at her and pointed out the door. Following where his free paw was aimed, Fluttershy turned back and shook her head.
Oh no, I can't go outside. One whiff and it'll be all over for me. Don't you remember what happened last time?
Evidently, Angel didn't care, as he pointed at the door again. Fluttershy looked back towards the door in trepidation.
Oh, please, Angel, can't you be the one to go outside?
He is a damn rabbit after all. Angel glared at her, his arms folded as he tilted his head back towards the kitchen. Fluttershy raised a hoof to her mouth.
I forgot you were cooking. I'm sorry, Angel. It honestly slipped my mind. I'm so distracted by this. Oh.
A flash of heat snaked through Fluttershy, and she began to pace again.
Oh my, oh dear, oh my, oh dear, oh God, oh man, oh God.
Angel slapped a paw to his forehead and then got an idea. Turning around, the little bunny hopped into the kitchen and opening the window over a sink, he had a perfect view of the everfree forest. Jumping from the sink, he hopped past the still pacing Fluttershy and right up to the front door, which he hopped up to and opened wide. Sure enough, a strong breeze from the direction of Ponyville blew right through the front door and out the back window, creating a cross breeze that Fluttershy was directly in the path.
Oh my, oh dear, oh my, oh dear, oh my, oh dear, oh. Oh. Oh.
The breeze washed over her, and Fluttershy trailed off as her nose was suddenly filled with the aromas from nearby Ponyville. It sent a thrill straight through her when on those aromas was the familiar and oh-so-welcoming smell of stallions. That promptly did it for her, and the heat that was coiling about inside her constricted her resistance to her instincts and strangled it into unconsciousness.
Oh. Oh my.
Her voice lowered a number of octaves and became husky at the very end.
Oh.
Her lips turned up into a smirk and her eyes becoming half-lidded. Fluttershy let out a soft giggle and trotted out the door. Her wings provided an extra spring in her step. The moment she was out, Angel slammed the door shut and sighed in relief that she and her stench of estrus were gone. He loved Fluttershy and she was his best friend, but she really just needed to let go sometimes. Picking up his hat, he hopped back into the kitchen to resume cooking his dish. Crossing the bridge to her house, Fluttershy trotted towards an unsuspecting and completely unprepared Ponyville.
And thus, Equestria's fate was sealed by a bunny. Seriously, you should lynch that hellspawn.
Hellfire, Darkfire.
Oh, you know what? I'm not gonna start singing.
Meanwhile,
Obligatory scene change to the Everfree Forest.
on the other side of the big tall fucking trees, Braeburn slowed his gallop to a crawl, took deep heaving breaths to regain his stamina. He lifted his head and looked around, trying to get his bearings.
He's like, let's see.
He murmured. He looked up at the sky overhead. Storm clouds in random and irregular patterns traced their way across it. He looked around at the trees. Yes, they were dense, dark, and ominous with shadows hiding potential dangers.
And I think I just stepped in something.
He observed, examining his hoof.
Into my trap!
Growled some horrible monstrous crocodile-like reptile that lunged out of the underbrush. Braeburn jumped above its snapping jaws and landed on its head with a grin.
Of course, I'm in the Everfree Forest.
He said with a cheerful laugh.
No pony would be crazy enough to follow me in here.
The land crocodile blinked at him curiously.
But you were crazy enough to come in. Well, yeah, but that's functional craziness.
Braeburn returned.
I can recognize it's crazy, therefore I ain't crazy. Get it? Not really.
The land croc replied, raising the scaly equivalent of an eyebrow.
What are you running from anyway? A filly.
Braeburn said.
Are you married then?
The croc asked.
No.
Braeburn said.
Kick the ball for the other team? No!
Braeburn said harshly. The croc huffed.
No need to be sensitive about it. Well, I was more confused over a buffalo who looked like a colt but was actually a mare, and it's been a tense topic ever since.
Braeburn admitted. The croc huffed irritably.
Very well, but what about this filly? Well, she just jumped me right out of nowhere. She's chased me all over these lands. Heat then.
The croc asked. Braeburn nodded.
Definitely, but unlike any I've ever seen. Is she unattractive, either physically or non-physically?
The croc inquired. Braeburn blinked.
Well, not really. Is she too dissimilar of a temperament for your own relation? Is she of too dissimilar a temperament and of your own for our relationship to work?
The croc asked again.
Well, I don't think so.
Braeburn said.
Then what's the problem? Do you talk like this with all your potential meals?
Braeburn asked. The Croc gave him a wry look.
In this forest, intelligent conversation is at a premium. It is either ruminate upon my loneliness as an intellectual, or seek out prey that can offer some company. That is at the very least, is not idiotic. Am I doing on that end? At the very least, I am sure you would give me indigestion.
The Croc said dryly.
Thanks, I think.
Braeburn said, with a raised brow of his own.
If you wish to prove yourself intelligent, then I suggest confronting this filly and being a stallion about it.
The Croc concluded.
You don't look the soft type after all. You're right!
Braeburn said with a determined smile.
I shouldn't run. I'm a pioneer and a darn handy one. Why should one crazy filly make me feel like turning tail? Exactly!
The Croc said.
Now, if you don't mind, unless you'd like to be food, I suggest you yippee-ki-yay!
Motherfucker. Cried the pink pony as she dramatically...
Wait. Because you said that I have to do this correctly.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker!
Cried the pink pony as she dramatically swung in on a vine and kicked the Croc on his side. The great reptile rolled on his back with a shout and Braeburn tumbled off.
Oh, Pinkie Pie, what are you...
Braeburn was cut short by a shocked exclamation. His jaw dropped as Pinkie Pie proceeded to yank the crocodile's forearms behind his back with her forelegs, while her back legs captured his tail and yanked it forward.
You're Billy! Stop! What are you doing?
Say it!
Pinkie Pie growled.
Say it!
Say what?
Say it, Uncle!
Pinkie Pie shouted.
Say it!
She ratcheted up the tension and the land Croc whimpered loudly.
Say Uncle! Say Uncle!
The Croc
Wait, no,
cried.
that was a Croc. Say Uncle! Say Uncle!
The Croc cried.
You're saying it wrong!
Pinkie Pie laughed.
Just say Uncle! Uncle!
Uncle!
Croc cried as very real tears came from his eyes.
And thus, crocodile tears was a thing. At least for now. Anyway,
Never mind. Pinkie Pie released him and trotted happily over to Braeburn as the land Croc whimpered behind her.
Hi, Braeburn. I still want you to ride me like a trail of marshmallows, but when I saw you wrestling with that croc, I like to wrestle crocs too, so I wanted to do it together, but before you... Are you mad?
I feel like you know what? I'm going to start over with this one.
Hi, Braeburn. I still wanted you to ride me like a trail of marshmallows, but when I saw you wrestling that croc, and I realized I like to wrestle crocs too, and I wanted to do it together before you mounted me. Say hi. How do you feel about mounting me right now? Because I am totally...
Braeburn stuck his hoof in her mouth and found he didn't mind her sucking on it as though it was a lollipop.
Okay. You're gonna want to be saving some of that air for me, darling.
Braeburn said with a growl as he gave into his instincts.
Because you're gonna need it. Oh, yeah.
Bow, chicka, bow, wow.
Bow, chicka, 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 bow, chicka, chicka, chicka.
Pinkie Pie squealed happily.
Oh, shut it! Pinkie Pie squealed happily and pounced onto the stallion. Land Crocodile, groaning in pain nearby, looked over at the two ponies.
Excuse me, I'm in terrific pain right now. I think a rib slipped. Yes it did. That's a whole new level of agony I've yet to experience. Until now. You're not even listening to me, are you?
The crocodile sighed and closed his eyes.
Go to university, she said. You'll have so many females lying to let you fertilize their eggs. Eggs you won't know what to do with them, she said. I hate mammals. And obligatory scene change. Back to a mystery location.
Meanwhile, somewhere. The doctor slowly came awake and wiggled his limbs, carefully opened his eyes, the small slits, and took stock of the situation. I always do seem to be in a bind, the chestnut pony observed as he saw he was suspended from a wall in Twilight's library with ropes and chains. Ha! Spread eagle! A bit old, but given the circumstances, appropriate. He said with an ironic smile. The shutters were closed, and the only light came from a number of candles magically floating around. Warm red curtains decorated the walls. His sonic screwdriver sat on the table in front of him, just out of reach.
Oh, you're awake.
As said Twilight Sparkle, she trotted into view wearing dark legging on all four of her limbs and a choker on her throat.
So she's into that stuff. Why am I not surprised?
Meh. She couldn't help an embarrassed smile when he looked at her. And you're not quite as intense, the doctor said.
Well, your Sonic helped me regain my wits.
Twilight said.
I was acting a bit crazed, really. I'm much better now.
The doctor looked at his bonds and then Twilight's appearance as she opened a book entitled The Magic of Love, Slaps and Kisses Edition. Obviously, the doctor quipped. So, usually this is the part where you tell me all your plans.
It is?
Twilight asked, flipping through the book. Well, it's been my experience, the doctor said conversationally.
So, you're experienced in this sort of thing?
Twilight inquired, tilting her head. The doctor shrugged. Being held captive? Yes, though I suppose it's unavoidable.
Well, I do want to tell you my plans.
Twilight said, trembling with a slightly crazed smile.
But I think you'd probably use that as a chance to escape.
Why would I want to escape? The doctor asked innocently. Twilight shot him a deadpan look. The chestnut-colored prisoner shrugged apologetically. Okay, good point. But in my defense, you were coming on me like a freight train. It's only natural you try to get out of the way.
Oh, but I'm the one train you don't want to escape.
Twilight purred. She paused.
How did that sound? Did that sound appropriately seductive?
Well, it's a bit hard to get aroused when I'm strung up like this, the doctor said. Blood flow issues, you know.
Oh my, I'm so sorry.
Twilight said. She manipulated the bonds with her telekinesis. The doctor subtly flexed his limbs.
How's this?
The doctor smiled. Much better, thank you. He looked over the door. There were some books piled on a nearby table. Is that a copy of Starswell's Movements of Planetary Bodies? Twilight looked, a smile of delight on her face.
Oh yes, have you read it?
She summoned it with her horn and turned back around.
I find it very...
The doctor was gone, as was a sonic screwdriver. Twilight looked over the door, which the doctor was fiercely trying to sonic. He looked up and met her eyes. He looked around at the home and dramatically face-offed. Who would expect to find a wooden door in a house made out of a tree? He said self-depreciatingly. Oof! Twilight had once again pounced on him, and the doctor gulped as the sonic screwdriver flew off, thanks to telekinesis. Twilight grinned over him.
You have a tendency to fall right into traps, Doctor.
She murmured, began nibbling at his neck. The doctor sighed. Yes, but there's one thing you should know about me, Twilight Sparkle. There's one thing you never, ever do if you value your continued existence.
No. I have to do the speech correctly. There's one...
You're not the doctor.
Fine! Be like that.
I am.
If you value... Oh? What is that?
Twilight asked. She fell back as her limbs were snapped into a rope noose, a rope the doctor had yanked on with his lower hooves. He grinned as he hopped up and stood over her. Never put me in a trap, he said. Twilight moaned and shuddered.
Oh, you're making it so hard for me to stay rational.
She said, licking her lips.
So intelligent, my dear Doctor. But...
A book slammed into the back of his head, sending him face down.
You don't put me in a trap either.
Starswirl. Well played, the doctor said, muffled by the floor. He got up just enough for Twilight to yank him up with her telekinesis. Bugger.
Resistance is futile.
Twilight purred.
And?
The door slammed open.
Twilight, I have a little...
Applejack stared. Twilight and the doctor stared back. Caramel on Applejack's back was unconscious.
I'll come back later.
The apple farmer said, closing the door matter-of-factly. The doctor looked at Twilight. The door was unlocked? He asked, gaining a broad smile. Brilliant! I kept trying to unlock an unlocked door!
Yeah, I know you're intelligent and all, Doctor, but that's the first logical conclusion your mind comes to when you realize it's unlocked? Why is your first logical... You know what? You're the Doctor. Fuck it. What? Well, I did do a lot of experimentation with your sonic screwdriver while you were out.
Twilight said modestly, her cheeks stained with a blush. I must say, you're definitely one over most of my other captors right now. The doctor complimented her.
So does this mean you'll stop resisting?
Twilight asked. The doctor kicked his sonic screwdriver up into his teeth. Nope, he replied succinctly.
Didn't think so.
Twilight said with a grin. Meanwhile,
back
just outside the door.
Well, it's more or less in the same area as the Carousel Boutique, since that's where we last left him, but either way!
Well, he's running.
Yeah?
And he's at the library.
Oh. Okay. You know what? Fuck it. Just read the damn thing.
Spike had been running as fast as he could on his tiny little legs. When he finally got back to the library, he found an obstacle in his path, namely Applejack, with an unconscious Caramel on her back.
Hey, what's the big idea, Applejack? I need to get in there. I need to save the doctor. And Twilight.
Spike said stubbornly, as Applejack held him in place with a single hoof on his chest. Applejack snorted.
Unless you're gonna be more stubborn than me, you ain't getting in there.
I can be just as stubborn as you.
Spike said defensively. Even while knocked unconscious, Caramel managed an instinctive, incredulous snort at this.
Even if that were true, tonight, I'm not letting you in until you tell me what in darnation's going on.
Applejack growled.
Well, Twilight went into heat today, and according to the book, all the holders of the elements of harmony will go into heat too. Only it would be magnified in intensity because as magic is the life force, and life force energy is its base. In its base, most primal state wants to reproduce.
Spike quickly explained.
Ah, that would explain why it feels like I've got a marching band chanting "Make babies" in my head. Let's go.
Applejack put dryly.
Wait, all the holders? Well, yeah.
Spike said.
I mean, seeing how Twilight got, and Rarity, you can understand why I had... Oh!
Spike was nabbed by Applejack's teeth and thrown up onto her back. She then began galloping as hard as she could toward the town center.
Spock, listen very carefully.
Applejack said.
I want to know every pony status. Twilight's in a house with the doctor. What about the others?
Well, Rarity's with Big Mac.
Spike said, unable to contain his grumble. As much as he respected and liked the guy, he couldn't remove his envy. He was only mortal, more or less.
And you saw Twilight.
Figure she'd latch on to him.
Applejack grunted, a bit annoyed but pragmatic, enough to stay on task.
I saw Pinkie Pie chasing Braeburn, so you should be able to keep up. How are you doing?
Spike asked.
I'll manage. Two opponents I'm most concerned about are Fluttershy and Rainbow Dash.
Applejack said as they reached the clinic. Several ponies were milling about, talking, eating, waiting on friends or loved ones under the good nurse's care.
Huh? Okay, Rainbow Dash I can understand, but Fluttershy?
Spike asked incredulously.
How bad could Fluttershy be?
I said that already.
You didn't say the last bit. No.
Wait. Oh, no, you're right. I'm sorry.
Huh? Okay, Rainbow Dash I can understand, but Fluttershy?
Spike asked incredulously.
How bad could Fluttershy in heat be?
All conversation ceased. Spike blinked. Applejack faced him. Fluttershy? In heat? A magenta pony asked, dread in her voice. Run for the hills! Every pony for herself!
Save the stallions! Get them hidden!
Another cried. They took off in a stampede in all directions, leaving Spike to stare after them. Very slowly, Spike looked over at Applejack.
They didn't even act like that for Nightmare Moon.
Spike gasped.
Yep.
Applejack said with a slow nod.
We're doomed, aren't we?
Spike asked.
Depends on how well Twilight can hold things together.
Applejack said.
I always thought she needed some, loosening up, but this is kind of ridiculous.
Maybe we should contact Princess Celestia.
Spike said.
Come in and fix everything for us.
Can't just call the princess for every little crisis.
Applejack said flatly. Nurse Redheart came out at last, probably due to the commotion, and Applejack hefted Caramel onto her back.
There, please take care of Nurse Redheart. He had a bad fall.
Nurse Redheart, what voice do I do for her? I will, but what's with all the shouting about?
The nurse asked.
A lot of showers and heat, and so is Rainbow Dash.
Applejack managed. The nurse gasped.
Oh my! I'll get everything ready. So glad I have those extra IVs on the Hard Cider Festival.
The nurse galloped in, and Applejack turned to Spike. She rested a hoof on his shoulder.
Now, Spike, this might be dangerous, but I'm going to have to ask for your full cooperation.
Applejack said.
Can I rely on you?
Of course you can.
Spike said.
Good.
Applejack said with a smile, patting him on the shoulder.
Just so you know, if I do lose my control and try to ride you into the sunset, he's a dragon.
Don't ask.
It's because I do actually find you attractive for a dragon. Okay.
She leaned in close.
You do have the plumbing and accessories, right? I think so.
Spike said.
Well, let's hope we don't have to find out for sure, right?
Applejack laughed, patting Spike a little too hard on the back, and a little too low.
Right, Twilight, let's make her fix this, right now.
Spike said in a much higher pitch of voice than normal.
And that concludes Chapter 3.
Yep.
So, it begins.
Let it begin.
To quote Bender, we're doomed! Doomed! And you thought this was going to be an incredibly sexy story. This isn't a clap fic, but it has its moments, but yeah. Anyway, good night everyone, and we'll see you next week.
Good night and good luck.
Also, notice I didn't say every pony because I know it's only humans listening to this, and if you say otherwise, you're wrong. Stop lying to yourself. Anyway, good night, everybody. I can't help it. Sometimes I think these people need it. Oh well. Good night.
So